Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Dive Bomb Industries. I'm Jeff Stanfield.
I'm Andy Shaver. 10 minutes is just a tip.
I didn't jack up the intro this time.
You did not. You did not. We've been doing that one long enough, though. It should
just rolls
should
off
be
the
second
tongue.
nature by now.
What are we talking about on the tip today?
Today is flagging.
Very important part of hunting.
I think so. I mean, and I think it's something that a lot of people maybe overdo or underdo.
I invented the flag in West Texas. I should say I invented it. I was the first to use a flag in West Texas.
That's because you were the first in West Texas.
Well, that might have been it too. I remember the day I used it for the first time. It was like
Really?
it was like magic. I bought that flag from Knutson's for $9.95. I got it in here. I was so excited about it.
What was it? Was it a flag man?
It was Randy Bartz's flag. Randy's a good friend of mine, nice guy. Anyways, it was one of Randy's flags, and I had it, and I was so impressed with it that it was still in the package 3 days after I got it. And we were hunting.
What does that mean?
I didn't know nothing about it. I just
second thought.
Yep, threw it in my guide bag, and that was the end of it. And we were hunting north of Winchester one day on a big peanut field, Stewart's, and the geese. It was a mild day, no wind, and we'd killed some birds, but it really wasn't a good hunt. And I told Matt Reagan was with me, I said, I'm going to try this flag thing I got. So I had to look at the directions on how to put it together and looked at it, and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm kind of moving it around and stuff. I thought, what the hell, we'll try it. So I'm calling, and I was not a great caller anyways, and Canada geese were kind of flying by, and I hit that flag, and I went, and them fuckers went, and they locked. I was like, what the fuck? And I'd hit it, and them suckers would break down. And then when they'd start flying a little bit like they weren't interested, I'd hit it again, and they'd re-break down. I mean, it was just like a control thing. I was like, fuck, this is like a magic wand here, boy. And them suckers would just follow that flag right in, and we'd shoot them. And shit, the next 6, 7 little groups of birds I saw, that flag, they just pulled right in on it. But nobody else was using it.
Right.
And so I was the first person up here to use a flag. And
magic wand.
it was like a magic wand. And then the next year it was the same way with it. Then after that, they started seeing the same Superman boomerang freaking spread and a flag in the middle of it and everywhere between here and Saskatoon. But I was the first person in West Texas to have a flag and to use it, and it made a big difference. It's great. And they still work, but it's not nothing like it did back the first years, kind of like the first years of the spinners.
Right.
Them spinners, you turn them on, them fucking ducks would drop elevator down from 5,000 feet.
Yeah.
Well, the flag was the same way. So anyways, little history lesson on the flag in West Texas.
I can remember when Dave Reese had the decoy retriever is like a 10, 12-foot pole, and he had a flag and he put fishing wire. The way it looked like its wings are cupped, and then he had also rigged it to where he can put another flag about halfway up, and he did the same thing there, fishing wire, where it looked like the decoys, or it looked like the flag was cupped up coming in, and he would raise that thing and go about 10, 15 feet in the air, and then he'd lower it, and then so it's just
Let's give
it's
credit.
something that has evolved. You know, everybody kind of has their own spin on the flag.
Well, let's give credit where credit's due with Dave's deal. I'll bet you if you ask Dave that, Randy Bartz, who's a good friend of Dave's, they grew up same area around Rochester, Minnesota, that's probably one of Randy's. Randy was a gadget guy, like Ron Winnicke was.
Right.
Always had new gadgets and new stuff they used all the time, and I'm betting you that's where that came from.
Yeah.
And then we had guys we used to have a golf, and I had one too. I had a black fiberglass golf like a wedge, and I'd taken the wedge off and had a flag sewn on it. It was just a big square black flag.
That's what you beat Ron with, wasn't it?
Yes, I slapped Dad on the arm with that sumbitch. He was quick shooting me.
He wasn't quick shooting you. He was just the first to shoot.
Right, and it didn't look good to the other customers.
Well, you know, he likes.
Well, he was freaking pissed off.
He's there for his entertainment, Jeff.
Oh, he was.
Nobody else's.
I slapped him on that fucking flag, and he was hot, battered hell for a second. Across the forearms. Oh, those were good days. Boy, I was poor then. We didn't have nothing but decoys and old truck. Some good time. We had some good times. Our life was simple then.
Slapped him right across.
Oh, right across the forearms. Boy, he was madder than hell. The next time he's raised up to do it, I picked that flag up.
Looked like a coward dog.
Yeah, he put that gun back down. Then the third time, I said, "You can shoot. Are you going to hit me?" I said, "No, you can shoot."
Shit. But I do. I think so many people don't really know how to read birds very well, and flagging is one of those deals. Not so much anymore, but I can remember growing up, and a flag was what you needed more so than a call. It goes back to reading your birds. If the birds are liking something, give them some of it. But the way that I would say to use a flag for most people is hit them on the corners. And what that means is as they're spinning you, this is geese. Now ducks, you can use a flag for ducks, but particularly for geese, if they're spinning you, kind of when they're quartering one way or the other, is when you want to hit the flag. Most of the time, if they're coming in directly at you, you really don't want to. You just kind of want to see what they're going to do. You could, if they're coming straight at you, pop it just a little bit, add a little bit of motion. But when I like to use it is a lot of times, like if they're going away from me and kind of quartering, I'll hit it a couple times just to kind of get their attention and maybe turn them. And then if they get behind me, I'll also pop it a little bit. But for the most part, if they're coming to me, I might give it just a little shake and then put it back down. But really, you want to use it most of the time when they're either going, either in front of you or behind you, is when you really want to kind of use it the most. And then if they're coming in, let them come in. If it looks like they're kind of going one way or the other and you want to center them up, pop that flag if you're sitting in the middle, like most of the time that we do. I
think you were correct about people over call or over flag or stuff.
Yeah.
If the birds are locked and coming,
let them.
Obviously something's going that they're liking. Let it go. I'm even that way with calling, and I'm not a caller, and I watch you guys, and I'm an expert from afar is what I am. I'm not in there doing it, and I don't have the ability to do what you guys do. But when those birds are locked and coming, shut up. If you're not calling and they're locked and coming, let them come. They start sliding, then hit the calls a little bit.
Right.
But a lot of times, let the birds do what they're going to do, and you don't have to flag. But I have noticed many times, even when I watch you guys from long ways off, those birds will have that lock look. And when they're coming, they're locked, and then they'll give them a little bit of wing sometimes to get some speed going and lock in. But if you hit that flog, they'll lock back up a lot of times.
Yeah.
And when they're locking up and coming, let them come. Don't try to overdo the shit.
Yeah, that goes back to like I said, if you think that they're coming and then they start kind of maybe veering one way or another, and you're thinking, oh shit, we might lose them. Give them a little bit of motion, and it just kind of can lock them back in. Now later in the year, if you're hunting birds that have been in that area, if you've been pounding on the same birds, then that flag might not work like it did at the beginning of the year.
Oh yeah, things are definitely going to change, and don't try everything at first.
Right.
You guys that are hunting local birds that have some migrating birds in, and hunting in big cities up north sometimes. I think a lot of your birds you're hunting a lot of the same birds year round. From September to, I don't know how much of a migration you get. I'm sure you get some northern birds, but a lot of those big birds are the same birds you're hunting all the time. Yeah. Don't throw everything at them opening day, because you're going to need that shit come January and early February or ever how long your season goes.
And that's just a good rule of thumb no matter what you're doing. Use the minimal amount of force necessary to have a good hunt.
Yes.
If one spinner will do it and you're duck hunting and one spinner will do it, use one spinner. And then you have a place to go afterward. If you can do a hunt and you don't even have to, if you don't even have to use a flag, keep that motherfucker in your back pocket for the day that you do need it. Just minimal amount of force necessary. If 20 dozen does it, if 20 dozen will do the trick, don't use 50. Give yourself a place to go throughout the course of the year. So many guys, and I know you get excited and you got this new gadget you want to try out. So many guys just throw the kitchen sink at them, and that's not the thing to do.
And we
minimal amount of force necessary.
And on a flag, it's just the basic flag. I mean, there's
Yeah.
different motion systems and all that kind of stuff, and we're going to get into that. We had a gentleman send us some. It wasn't the Magic Mics.
Right.
Send it, and we'll talk about that on a 10-minute segment once we use them. I don't want to talk about anything until we use them though. But we use the flags, and we have since Randy Bart's. I used to be a flag man pro staffer.
Really?
Yep, I've even got a case in there that Randy gave me. Signed it. It's got his name on it. Signed it for everything for me. Good guy. Randy hunted with me lots of times many years ago. I hadn't seen Randy in years, but he invented a hell of a deal. I mean, it's killed a lot of birds. Everybody's got a spin off of it, but it's the same basic concept as its motion, and that's what counts. And use it. You can abuse it, I'm sure. But just use it to.
Ron would abuse it.
Oh yeah, Dad thought you fucking because he remembers back in the day when all you had to do was flag.
That's all you had to do.
You just sat there and just, and they're 5 miles away, and you just do this shit, and they just get closer and closer and closer, and they'd lock and they never circle. I'm telling you, when in the early '90s out here, the hunting was so good, but there was so little pressure on the geese everywhere in the country.
Right.
There wasn't hardly any other outfitters anywhere. I mean, hell, we were about the only one out here. There's a couple other guys that did, but there just wasn't the pressure places at all. You didn't hear about anybody guiding in Kansas and Nebraska. I mean, there just wasn't no pressure on the birds. And these birds would be, even in late January, we'd have flocks of 300, 400, 500 lessers. And you just hit a flag, and them suckers would lock up a half mile away, and they would just sail right in. Never even circle.
I can remember Ron's favorite story. He's got the flag, and he sees one lone specklebelly out there. And Ron, so the way a flag works, if you've never seen one, it's just it's fiberglass rods that looks like the wing, and then it kind of tapers down, and there's a little bungee cord, and it hooks to a screw. And you just loop that over the screw, and then it looks like the bird coming into land. Ron would not do the little bungee cord, probably because most of his bungee cords break, and then he doesn't feel like fucking with it. So his would just like flap in the wind. That's how that was Ron's flag. And he said he was looking at a specklebelly miles out, and he would do this. This is what you would see from Ron's hole the whole time until you tell him. For those of you who can't see on YouTube, but he would just flap, just flick his little wrist, and he would do it all the time. And you'd finally have to tell him, like, Ron, let's try not flagging this next flock. See what that does. So he sees one specklebelly.
I bet he'd give you that old kind of.
Yeah,
he pouted.
He pouted. He would be a pouter. If you told him, hey, let's see what this flock does without the flag, he would not flag the rest of the day. He was done.
Unless you asked him to do it again.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Ron, I really think that we need that flagging again. But he was not going to do it on his own. If you've told him to let's see what this next flock does without the flag, he's shut down. Big teddy bear. So he saw this little speck and kept flicking that little wrist, and he said that specklebelly lock up, and then he'd put his flag down, and the specklebelly would start to go away. And he'd pick that flag up again, and he said it locked in 4 miles out and just glided right to where his boots were, all because of the flag. So anytime that flagging ever got brought up, or you thought that, hey, maybe let's not flag so much tomorrow, he would always tell that story of the time that he flagged in the lone specklebelly
from 4 miles away,
from across the county. And that was his claim to fame. He loved the flag. He'd have on those jersey gloves, those brown jersey gloves, cotton. My hands would be so fucking cold. If I ever forgot my gloves and I had to borrow Ron's, my hands would be so fucking cold because those things, there's no insulation in them.
No, they're not very warm.
They're not, and Tony wears them.
Yep.
I don't understand it.
Tony's little dad. I told you, he's little Ron.
I don't know if Ron like pricked his fingers so much, checking his blood all the time, that he had no feeling in his fingers, but he would give me those. They were 4 sizes too big.
Well,
so
his hands were a lot bigger than yours.
You just got cold air just rushing in on your hands. And I'd be so cold. And oh, that's all you need. Jersey cotton gloves is all you need. And then they'd be all fucking ripped up from mice and pheasants and everything else. But that's all you'd see. So he'd have the old 747 goose decoy over his head with holes cut in it. He'd have puff in between his legs. And then you just see that jersey glove just flapping with that little flag. Loved it.
What a retirement that man had. Poof. What a retirement. Anyways,
we've gone a little long.
We went 15 minutes today.
10 minutes adjusted tips actually turned into 15. So,
all right, you got a 15-minute tip today. Anyways, God bless everybody. Have a good, go vote, folks. We got to vote. Get your neighbors to vote. Get your friends to vote. Get your enemies to vote. Vote, vote, vote.
I mean, it's getting
everybody
getting down to the wire now. So
everybody that hunts and owns a hunting license needs to go vote. I mean, that's what if everybody that hunts would go vote and vote the right way, we will be in great shape.
The cookie test in Pennsylvania said Trump's up 3-1. Has accurately predicted the last 3 president races.
Well, I am predicting that Trump wins in a landslide. I still don't see it. I just can't imagine it happening. So go vote, though. We have to vote. If you don't vote, you don't count.
If you don't vote, you don't fucking matter. All right. That's all we got. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors out there. Foul Bandits, sporting a little bit of their swag for this YouTube episode. Stanfield Hunting Outfitters, Gundog Outdoors, Dirty Duck Coffee, Dive Bomb Industries, Boss Shot Shells, Pacific Calls, J2 Outdoors, the Ice Ripper. You can get 10% off of it. Use the promo code Big Honker. Lucky Duck, Looking Glass Duck Club, 14 Cattle Company, and William Chris Wines. Goodbye.